Hello English 102 and welcome to week 3. This week your first AB or Annotated Bibliography is due. It's really simpler than it sounds. A lot of people get confused on this, but really what you need to do is first choose a topic for your essay. Like say I want to write an essay on hills like white elephants and I'm interested in Jig and her level of agency in the story, right? So what I'm going to do is go on to Discover DeWitt or go into the library and try to find critics who have written about Jig and agency, right? So you're going to search the database, find some articles about that, some scholarly peer-reviewed articles, and find a couple that you think will be useful. And then you're going to create a bibliographical entry for each one. That includes MLA formatted works cited entry plus a brief summary of the article. So your job really is to find the articles, read 2 of them, and get back regarding summaries of those articles. So that's pretty much it for the AB. You don't have to write an essay or anything yet. That's going to be coming in a couple weeks, but that's how you'll get started in that process. And I hope that by the end of the semester this has sort of created this kind of seamless research and writing process that you can apply to your courses all throughout your college career when you have to do research and write research papers. So that's what that's all about. I know you'll probably still have questions. Feel free to email me about it. Also, I wanted to touch base about Araby, one of the stories you'll be reading this week, along with Kafka's Hunger Artist. Araby is this story about this kind of kid, this adolescent boy who falls crazily in love with this girl, Mangan's sister, who doesn't even get a name, but yet he kind of really becomes obsessed with her, and we'll be talking about that a little bit. So anyway, a theme in Araby is romance, but not the kind in which, a couple comes together as equals to enjoy all the spoils associated with one another's company, but rather the propensity to romanticize that which is unknown or unseen or unavailable or mysterious, that turning of every walk into a romantic quest and every utterance into a prayer or a prophecy. This is kind of this boy's problem in this, is that he sees the world through this sort of romanticized vision, perhaps from the books that he found in the priest's room who passed away. Who knows? But anyway, the critic Margot Norris, in her essay Blind Streets and Seeing Houses, says, quote, "Araby has become another version of the dead priest chivalric books with their yellow leaves," unquote. It's the conversion of every real event into melodrama, in other words. This is our protagonist's romance. Take as evidence the fact that Mangan's sister is completely disembodied. A shadow, a strand of hair, a bracelet. You don't really ever see her. As readers, we never get even a partially complete picture of her. We never get to see her. We are quote, blind. Notice, same as our boy's street, right? In the first sentence, we're blind. A word, by the way, which we see throughout the story, and its emphasis on seeing and not seeing, right? Just take a minute, and this is a question in the discussion, but take a minute and look at how much Joyce plays with the idea of seeing in this story. It's pretty fascinating. So also, I wanted to mention, critic Jeffrey P. Koss notes, quote, "Mangan's sister is diminished to a body that is quite secondary, not even warranting a first name. Yet," unquote, sorry, "yet she is the object of all this attention and so-called affection." Does he really feel affection toward her? It's questionable. But if you come to think of it, we objectify bodies in our culture as well. Our pop heroes, you name it, from, these like George Clooney to Miley Cyrus or whomever else, who we quote-unquote fall in love with all the time, have interior lives to which we have no access and perhaps no interest. No matter however much we imagine we know about them, it's all fantasy, right? We just fantasize, right? And The Boys is a kind of childhood crush like that, and the illusion of that crush comes crashing down within the confines of Araby the story, and with the help of Araby the bazaar at the end, right? For when he enters the bazaar, he finds that it is nothing like what he imagines it to be, and that he has been, quote, driven by vanity, unquote, to create a place that was far more illustrious than reality. The place was created in his mind. So thus, by analogy, is what he realizes he has done to Mangan's sister as well, right? He sees this bazaar he thinks is going to be amazing, and he thinks the same thing about Mangan's sister and says, wait, I just kind of made this stuff up myself. It's not, those things out there that I'm in love with, but something that I sort of made up in my head. Many people talk about epiphanies in Joyce's stories, and rightfully so. And at the end, in the last sentence of this story, our protagonist has his epiphany that all his romanticizing has been simple vanity. He realizes that he has fallen in love with the images in his own head. In other words, what he imagines Mangan's sister to be, which has nothing to do with who she really is, or with her at all. Just as a end note here, this is how one of Joyce's characters defines epiphany in a discarded novel of his called Stephen Hero. It goes like this, quote, "By an epiphany, he meant a sudden spiritual manifestation, whether in the vulgarity of speech or of gesture, or in a memorable phase of the mind itself. He believed it was for the man of letters, the writer, in other words, to record these epiphanies with extreme care, seeing that they themselves are the most delicate and evanescent of moments." So that's Joyce's his real point in these stories in Dubliners and Araby in particular, is to record these epiphanies. And this boy's epiphany, whether it's meaningful or hollow, is that he's been driven by vanity to obsess over these things that he really doesn't know anything about. So please be thinking about Araby and read it carefully, and I look forward to seeing your comments on the discussion board, and I look forward also to reading your annotated bibliographies and becoming aware of all of the wonderful research that I hope that you'll be doing. Okay, until next time, I will talk to you all soon.